Welcome back. Here is video 2, which is creating tracks and adding loops in GarageBand. And again, you have up here your Google Classroom code, so if you have not gotten that added yet, then please do so because these assignments will be posted in Google Classroom. Your code is JRLBKVA. So we are going to be working in today. And as I mentioned in the last one, when I'm starting a new project and I know I'm going to be using a lot of loops, like you're going to be doing in this assignment right here, I usually start with audio recorder because I don't have to record anything in order for the track to stick. With some of the instruments, especially if you click on a smart one, if you don't record something, then the track doesn't stick. But if I just come over here and I just hit voice, and then it will go ahead and that track is there. There's nothing in it, but it's there for me to use and it's there for it to stay. And so while you are in here, this right here is kind of in your adding in sounds. It allows you to make the changes. But if you want to go up to track view, that's right there. And then it gets rid of that extra menu and you can just see everything that's on, you have going on. When you only have one track, this is your track right here. When you only have one track, it's pretty easy. When you start adding more and more and it starts getting going down, then it's helpful to be able to see a lot more. So right now we have a project with one track. The track is where you place the sounds, the loops, the recordings, anything like that. The track is what we call the where you place it. If I want to add another track, then I'm going to come down to this plus button right here. I tap that and I can add another track. I can add another audio, or if I wanted to, I can go somewhere else and I can add a piano part. And so now, since this is my piano, this is where you are adding in the letters, so you can see that all of the letters are on the piano to help me know which is which if I wasn't a piano person. You can see that I have a different icon in this track because this track I selected as a synthesizer track. If I had selected it as a guitar track, then you'd have a picture of a guitar. But it just kind of helps you keep track. It doesn't really mean anything, but it helps you keep track of what the track originally started as. Again, I can go to track view, get rid of that, and just be able to focus a little bit more on what I see here. So right now I have 2 tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add one more. The assignment is to have at least 3 tracks, and so I am going to add another track. And we'll just add one of the world instruments. You can play around with it, but this one, again, since it's not a smart instrument, it does just add it without having to worry about recording it, and you can see a picture of the instrument. Once you have tracks that you are ready to put things in, you can either record on the instrument that I have selected. So I could use the red record button over here and I could record something. But today what I want to focus on is this roller coaster looking thing over here, because those are our loops. And we are going to be adding in loops. These are what when you downloaded all those extra sound packs, you can see this Long Night Drive synth is from the sound pack selection. If it doesn't have anything, then I think it's just your default comes with the program. It wasn't an extra sound pack. Right now I have just over 8,000 different sounds downloaded to use for the different projects. So the more sound packs you have, the more options there are. It can get overwhelming, and that's what these hearts are for. These hearts allow you to favorite things. And so if you're going through and you're like, oh, that's a really cool sound, but I don't need it for this project yet, go ahead and just tap the heart, because then you can come over here. If you tap on the heart up here, you can filter by hearts and find all the different sounds that you have said, oh, I kind of like this. And maybe you'll use it at some point, or maybe you'll just kind of have it in there to work on for a project of your own. So we have all of these different loops. As I showed you, you can filter by the favorites, but you can also filter by the different kinds of instruments. You can filter by genres, and you can filter by descriptors. In addition to that, you also can look for sounds in a very specific sound pack. So if you know, again, very popular, if you know you wanted something from the toy box, then you can just see the sounds that are in the toy box. And then when I come back here, now I only have 443 items because these are the toy box sounds. Things like a motorcycle, a panda sound, a parrot, a penguin, planetarium effects, planetarium melody. So all sorts of things. Some of them are real sound effects. Some of them are just kind of unique sounds. But you can filter by that. And then anytime you want to clear it, if you just hit that X, that should clear all of those. And then down here, you can come and you can go back to all sound packs. So now I have all my just over 8,000 sounds again. When you want to add a loop to a track, so the loops are the actual sounds and the place where they go are the tracks. So you just take it and you drag it from the menu and you drag it in. You may have noticed when I was dragging them in that it wouldn't let me put it on the Erhu track and it wouldn't let me put it on the keyboard track. Okay, it says drag green Apple loops here. There are different kinds of loops and you can't mix them. Okay, so this one is only blue. If I were to try and drag a green one onto the blue, it actually lets me. Okay, it would also let me add it to the piano track. It is not letting me add here. It doesn't accept loops. This one is only for recording. Okay, so, but if you wanted to add it, you can just drag it into the blank space and it just creates a new track for it. Okay, so notice as we go through, there's actually 3 different colors. We have blue, we have green, and we have yellow. The blue loops are what we call audio loops. And audio loops are loops that are already set and you can't do a whole lot of editing with them. You can make them shorter. You can make them, you can cut them. You can get rid of half of it. Okay, you can make it longer again. But that's about it. There's some settings. You can change the speed. You can reverse it. That can be kind of fun sometimes. But you can't, there's not a lot of things that you can change it with. Those are your audio loops. They're pretty much set. Your green loops are what we call MIDI loops, M-I-D-I. And these loops, you actually, when you tap on them, you actually have an edit function in the menu. Notice when I tapped on the blue, there was no edit. When I go to edit here, I actually have the ability to totally change what is going on in this. I can move them around, I can make them longer, I can make them shorter, I can delete them completely, I can move them where they have them, and I can totally change the melody that they have given me. And I can make it my own, I can do whatever I want, and now I have changed it. You also, on the green ones, have the option of changing the instrument. So I put this in here and it came in as a 70s Latin rock piano. But if I didn't want it to be that anymore, I come up here to where it says Epic Cloud Formation. That's my instrument. And I can actually go all the way back to main categories and I can change it to whatever I want. I can change it to some hi-hat. Here's the bass. I can change it to bass. I can change it to guitar. I can change it to bells. And so when I hit save, now when I play it, it's on a totally different instrument. So the green MIDI sounds allow you a lot of flexibility with what the sound is. You can take the loop and let the Apple Loops be your starting point, and then you have the freedom to change it however you want. The blue audio loops, your editing is pretty much limited to how long or how short do you want the loop. If it's a long loop and you don't want it to be long, you can make it short. If you want to make it just loop and repeat, then you can just make that short section loop and repeat, but that's where that ends. So we have audio, we have MIDI, and then your yellow, you probably can figure out, those are going to be your drummers. And so audio, Apple Loops does have some drum loops. You also, in the menu, can add the smart drummer where they will actually kind of change it based on what you want. But your yellow drum, again, you have options to change what instruments are on it. You can change how loud you want it, how soft you want it. Do you want it to be really complicated? Do you want it simple, soft and simple, complex and loud, kind of whatever you want. As I'm moving this, hopefully you are watching and seeing that this moves too. So you can see how it changes based on what I have and what I'm asking it to do. So those are your 3 different kinds of loops. And so your loops are your sounds. The tracks are where you place the sounds. If it is a track that was designed for audio loops, that's the only thing that can be placed in there. You can only put in audio loops. And everything in there is blue and audio loops. Notice, even when I put in the green one, it turned it into an audio loop that I no longer have the option of editing. If it is a track that's designed for MIDI, then that's all that can be put in there. You can't put in audio loops. You have a lot more flexibility with the MIDI as far as how you edit it. You can edit the notes, you can edit the tempo, you can edit the instrument itself and totally make it different. And then you have your drum that is a lot like the MIDI, except it's just focused on the drum. But you have, again, the ability to edit it and change a lot of the features with the sounds and speed and complexity and that kind of thing. So your assignment is basically this. Kind of play around with it, find some loops, favorite some things that you like, but what you're going to be turning in is you need to have at least 3 tracks, and in those 3 tracks you need to have at least 3 different loops. So right now as I look, I have Anders Black Veil is one loop, 70s Latin Rock Piano is a second loop. These are really the same loop, so I'm not going to count those as different, although if you changed the sound of it, I would probably count that as different because you have taken something and you've made it your own. You've made it a new sound. And then up here, I have 3 additional new ones. So I have way more than I need. You only need to have 3. But it's just a way to kind of make sure that you know what you're doing and how to add the loops to your project.